it comes to the animated show Blue-Eyed Samurai, I'm going to be completely honest and say it was a fantastic watch for so many reasons. Firstly, I really enjoyed the animation style, as to an extent you can see it as a standard anime, but at the same time it does feel quite different. I personally would describe it as anime meeting Telltale game animation. For me, the main aspect of this show that really hooked me was the violence. It was impeccable to witness. Very over the top, but I really did enjoy that, and they really showed that in the very beginning that this is the type of show it's going to be. I really enjoyed it for that reason alone. Now, while I did enjoy its darkness that this show has as a theme going through the entirety, I really enjoyed the comedic moments, especially from the character Ringo, who really somewhat shines a light on the show, especially when it gets to a very dark point of time. When it comes to the plot, I have to say I was truly hooked, as I found it to be very intriguing, as they did a very non-linear way of telling this story. So we have the main story and then we have the flashbacks telling the backstory of Mizu, and sometimes those flashbacks would overtake or overshadow the actual story itself, and that's really good when you have flashback scenes probably just as or even better than the main plot itself. One of the most amazing things about this show is the character development. Now, whilst I would say they did an okay job but could have been more with characters such as Ringo and Taiken, they did an impeccable and amazing job with Princess Akemi, Seki, but especially when it came to Mizu. They really put and outlined her arc. They did an amazing job of that. Mizu's development in this show is amazing as it is sad, because of the fact that we see that this character has had to suffer throughout her life, to the point that she's had to pretend to be something she's not, and even then she is still treated as a monster. It's quite sad, as anytime she reveals her true self to certain people and being her open, honest self, she has been betrayed and ridiculed because of that, and this is why we see that she has no compassion and or hope, which is really sad, as we see that at times she does her best to protect those who aren't in powerful positions, yet gets it thrown back in her face. Now, when it comes to themes of this show, the most obvious one is discrimination. We see this essentially with two characters, Mizu, obviously, but also Abijah Fowler. And it's interesting how, even though they are protagonist and antagonist, they're trying to kill one another, they have quite a lot of similarities. On Abijah Fowler's side, he is hidden away because he is white, but at the same time he is making a lot of profit for the Shogun, and he has all his desires filled, yet he is forced to hide away from society, and so he has restricted freedom. And even though he is making a profit for these people, they don't want to know, let alone meet this person, hence why the desire for revenge. And then from Mizu's point of view, has had to hide since the day she was born, and she's been also bullied because the fact that she is not traditionally Japanese, she's mixed race. Like Abijah, she's had to hide away and even change genders just to somewhat fit in. Now, because of the discrimination, we see they want revenge. With Abijah, he wants revenge on the community that he has been making a huge profit for, and yet don't acknowledge his existence. While Mizu, on the other hand, wants revenge on those that created her because of how horrible her life is, which I find quite a fascinating turn of events. Another theme that we notice throughout the show is ego, specifically when it comes to men who have been beaten by Mizu, as even though Mizu is a woman, she has hidden it from certain people. They just can't get over the fact they got beaten, and because of the fact they got beaten, instead of showing compassion and just accepting defeat, they have to go and ridicule her, which is really sad and pathetic, and just shows how fragile their egos are. We get this with Taigen when he loses multiple times and he just resorts to calling her a monster, or when her ex-husband realised that she's quite a talented swordsman, unlike him, he resorts to calling her a monster as well and really betraying her trust. It just is quite sad to see how fragile their egos are and how quick they are to just mock and ridicule instead of showing respect for that person. When it comes to the finale of this show, I have to be honest and say it was impeccable to watch. Just seeing the Shogun army versus Abijah Fowler's army, all while seeing Mizu going on her path for revenge. And it's really fascinating seeing how revenge has consumed her to the point that she's not even noticing what's going on in the background, something that Abijah Fowler is laughing at. Obviously I'm not going to say any spoilers. Now, when it comes to criticisms, I've only got really two. The first one being, I felt like the nudity and sex sex was a bit unnecessary. Obviously there was some parts that added humour, and I'm not taking that away, but I felt like there was some sex scenes that didn't need to be so graphic. It was understandable why they were showing this, but it didn't need to be so like graphic. I think they could have just cut that away. My second criticism is about episode 4. We see Madame Kaji offer the task to Mizu to take care of an old friend of hers, and it starts really well, but then it's kind of predictable what happens, and I feel like a certain character died for nothing, as what we knew Mizu was going to do, which originally was put off, actually happens. And so I just see the sacrifice Madame Kaji initially made was all for nothing, and it's kind of sad really, as we get quite an amazing episode only for it to be somewhat ruined by the ending. Personally speaking, it was a really good episode, as you show Mizu has quite an emotional attachment to certain women. She's always trying to help those who are in desperate need. Overall, it's a fantastic show, not only with the plot, the animated visuals and the violence that we get, but an amazing character development and honestly a really hooking story from the very start, as you ask so many questions and get so many answers in return. As dark as it has sprinkles of humour here, there and everywhere. Whilst I wasn't the biggest fan of side plots, they definitely didn't deteriorate from the main plot that we got. Is this show good? I'd say it is fantastic. Rating wise, it's a 9 out of 10. Now, would I rewatch it? The answer is maybe. Definitely in a year or two I can see myself going back and watching it. Obviously if series 2 comes out, then yeah. When it comes to recommendations, firstly I would say the TV show Avatar, as I saw a lot of similarities throughout. Ringo reminded me of the character of Sokka because of his creativeness, but also because of the humour. I saw similarities with Taigen. He felt very much like Zuko. Seki felt like a very darker version of Uncle in Avatar, and yeah, just quite a lot of similarities personally. And then my second recommendation would be Kill Bill, not only because of the fact that it's a woman going after a lot of people and doing a brutal assault on many other ninjas and shit like that, but also because it's the first film to really introduce me to anime. Now I would recommend more, but anime is not something that I'm actually particularly interested in. I was only recommended it by a work colleague and I actually had a really good time watching. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for Blue-Eyed Samurai. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.